Before we begin, I want to talk about the yarn that I'm going to be using, the Bernat Handicrafter. It's a really great, affordable, 100% cotton option, but it does get bigger while you work with it, if that makes sense. So the gauge can be difficult to kind of measure or attain. So if you are a beginner, I would recommend using a worsted weighted acrylic yarn or something like that. So here I'm just showing you that I am going to be working with a smaller swatch to show you the stitches and pattern I used for the top. I'm making a size medium for this video, and so here I'm working with a chain of 8, but you're going to be working with a base chain of 155 for a size medium. And if you're making a different size, you'll follow the numbers in the pattern. So to begin, I'm going to chain 1 and then place 1 single crochet in the second chain from my hook. And then once I do that, I will place 1 single crochet into every stitch across my base chain. And just to look better, I'm going into the back loop only of all of these stitches of the chain. I should say back bump only, not back loop only. It just leaves a cleaner finish and is easier to sew to the other side because you're going to make 2 pieces that create the top of the shirt. Here I'm just working 2 more rows of single crochet, and so if you're working a medium, you'll work 155 single crochets along 3 times for a total of 3 rows. And then you're done with single crochets and we will start the pattern rows. The pattern row begins with a row of half double crochets, and to work that I chain 1 and then place a half double crochet in the very first stitch without skipping any, and then I will continue to work 1 half double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. And if you're having trouble, if I'm moving a little too fast and not explaining half double crochets or the next stitch treble crochet US terms well enough, there are great tutorials on YouTube that can help. So the very first step of the pattern rows was just to do 1 row of half double crochet, and now you're going to do 1 row of treble crochets, and this is where the repeat rows begin. The repeat rows are 1 row of treble crochet, 1 row of half double crochet. It's important to note, especially if you're following along with the pattern, that the pattern starts with the treble crochet. And so here I'm just working 1 treble crochet into every stitch along the row. And you can see here I split a yarn and then I have to go back and fix it, which may happen to you. But that's basically how the pattern rows are worked, and we can move on now to actually applying this to the longer version. I did not film myself crocheting the 2 panels that you need to make because it took me a long time, but here I'm showing you how you're going to sew them together and how you're going to leave the top opening and the bottom opening. You want to make sure that you line up the 2 single crochet edges. This is the very top of your top, and you are going to sew using whip stitch or your preferred method of sewing. Here I show 16. I actually go back and sew 17 inches because, like I said at the beginning, the Handicrafter was kind of shifting on me and I couldn't get a very good measurement. But I'm going to sew 17 inches from the right towards the middle and then repeat from the left to the middle. And so here I am using whip stitch. I use stitch markers to show my measurements, so I'll remove them whenever I actually start to sew. But go ahead and measure 17 inches and then place either a paper clip or a stitch marker to help show where you need to sew to. Otherwise you can get kind of lost or lose your place. Again, if you have any trouble with the whip stitch or using a different stitch, YouTube is where I learned to do most of my techniques, so go ahead and search for something great on there. I'm sure you'll find a helpful tutorial. But I am going to show you that I am tying off my ends here and just weaving them back into the work. I am going to sew along the top 17 inches for the 2 sleeves to leave a 22-inch opening for my shoulders and neck. And then at the bottom, I'm going to leave a 20-inch opening for my bust. And so if you need exact measurements, please reference the pattern, or exact stitches, but it'll be 22 inches at the top and 20 inches at the bottom for a size medium. Now that we completed all the sewing, we're going to add some more layers to the bust area so that it's long enough to be a crop top and not too short. I'm just placing a slip knot on my hook and picking up at the bottom where the 20-inch wide hole is at the bottom. It's very important that you add to the bottom. I'm going to add 2 more rows of the pattern rows we were working, picking up on a treble crochet row. So I'm just going to add 1 row treble crochet, 1 row half double crochet, and repeat that 1 more time to have a total of 4 rows added to the bottom for a size medium. Please reference the pattern free on my blog if you are going to be making a different size. Here I'm showing you how I connect the front to the back. I work into the last stitch that's not a part of the whip stitch that we sewed. It's important to not go back into any of the stitches that have been sewed with the whip stitch because that'll add length to the bust, which we do not want to do. And then I'll go into the very first stitch on the other side that does not have a whip stitch in it. The body is worked in the round, so here I'm showing you how you would connect the treble row. You'd count to the top of your 3rd chain and then technically go into the 4th one. It's really not a chain, it's a part of the first treble crochet, and then place a slip stitch and that connects the row, and then you can go ahead and work on your half double crochets and I will show you how to connect those. To connect the half double crochets, you're going to count your 1 chain that you used to start the round and then go into the chain after it, which technically again isn't a chain, but that's the best way to describe it. You want to make sure that you don't place any stitches into the slip stitch of the previous row. That'll add stitches to your round. So go ahead and place 1 more row of half double or treble crochet and then half double crochet to complete the bottom. Here I've completed my 2 additional rows and I'm going to end this work. So I'm going to slip into the beginning of the round. Takes me a while here, I remember. Go ahead and place a slip and then do 1 more chain stitch. And then cut a 6-inch tail or however long and pull it through to create a knot. And then you can just weave in that end. I show you how I do it here with my crochet hook, but you can do it with a sewing needle if you would like. You're nearly done with the top, all the hard work's over. Now you just have to add the straps at the top. To do this, I measured 10 inches in from both sleeves, so basically the middle of the opening at the top, which is within the 10-inch mark for me, but it'll be different for other sizes. And then on 4.5 inches of either side, you're going to place a stitch marker. Here I just placed my sewing needle, and you're going to create the straps there. I create the straps and there will be 4 straps in total. So I do this by creating a slip knot on my hook and placing into, and this is very important, one side of the work. I'm talking not just one side of the side facing you, but you just want to make sure that you don't connect the hole at the top, otherwise you won't be able to fit into it. And so here I'm just creating chain stitches that length 8 inches, and that's how you will complete all the straps. It's very, very easy. And when you're done, you're just going to cut a tail and pull it through your very last chain stitch.